Hi. Welcome to the Everything Motherhood podcast with me, Nabifo Wamunga. And today we are going to have a conversation with moms. And we cannot have a conversation with moms without me starting with my very own mother. How can I talk about motherhood without speaking from where I started? Uh, as I was, as we were uh, learning more about working mothers and challenges that they came across, it crossed my mind that my mom has been a working mother all my life, and she's an authority in this department, especially some of the unique challenges that she faced. Actually, maybe not that unique since a lot of working mothers face them. But it wouldn't make sense for us to delve into everything without giving a brief introduction on who she is. So, my mom is Ambassador Oliver Woneha. She started her working life as an educator and then progressed into the coffee industry specifically and the agriculture sector in general, and has experience in this field for over 20 years before she became a legislator. She was a member of parliament for 10 years before she became a diplomat. And she has represented our country, Uganda, as the Ugandan ambassador to the US and is currently the Ugandan ambassador to Rwanda. She's a single mother of 3 and an all round awesome person. So, welcome, Ambassador Olive, or otherwise known as Mom.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So before we get into the challenges of working mothers and what we shall later define as the motherhood penalty and the fatherhood bonus, I would like to know, what was your experience coming into motherhood? I know you first became a mom in the 70s. Maybe you can tell us something about that.
Yeah, my first born came in 1975. I'd just finished school 1974, and I was a teacher in Bale SS. Deciding to have a child when you're a teacher is a challenge in itself because you're expected to do the preparatory work, lesson planning, lesson scheming, teach, take home homework, mark books, and be alert the following day. So having a baby in there is quite a big challenge.
I can imagine. Your first child was a C-section, right?
It was a C-section, yes.
So how did you cope with healing? How much time did you have before getting back to that gruesome schedule?
Well, I was a government worker entitled to maternity leave of 30 days.
30 days.
But because of C-section, I was entitled to 45 days. And they are just so few. Because healing itself from the C-section takes time, several weeks, of the 45 days. And even if the delivery was normal, a mother needs to heal. So 30 days was such a short time, but that was the law. And every mother had to just be home for 30 days, in my case 45 days, and appear in the classroom.
That must have been very challenging. Something else about the 70s in Uganda was that it was quite a turbulent time for the country. So how was it being a mother with already those challenges and then the turbulent times and the wars and change of government and all of that?
It was tough because even going to hospital to deliver the baby, you're not so sure what you're finding. The doctors are there. They don't have the tools they need. But fortunately, in my case, it all went well. I had my baby. But remember, while in class, you hear gunshots. You have a baby at home. And you must get to your baby. So it was tough. Will you be able to reach the baby and even breastfeed? Maybe because of shock and all, the breast is not even there. It's not giving the milk. So it was challenging. And not only that, the security itself, but there was shortage of everything. That was the time we talked about essential commodities, which were sugar, salt, baby milk, formula that we refer to as formula today. And even just getting the napkin, the napkins. Today you're talking of diapers and pampers. Those were not there in our times. You're talking about finding them. Where do you find them? The shops were scarce, and even if they were there, they hardly had stuff to sell. So it was tough, all in all.
But somehow
we managed. We managed, yes.
Yeah, it's really difficult to picture and see, considering how, from what you're saying, we are fortunate the way things are today. You can get Pampers almost at any store. What limits is your financial...
Precisely.
Yeah, your financial ability. Now, there's a question that has really been bothering me, and I can't wait to get you on record on this. Growing up, you used to threaten us about if you come home with a child, and this and the other, and you have to stay in school and all of that. And then one day I woke up and you are now instead threatening me for grandchildren. So when did that switch happen? How does it happen? Or maybe you can shed some light.
Well, I think it's just a natural process. When I was growing up, I was one girl with 6 brothers. And my father was always on my case to ensure I'm in school. When I did senior 4, I wanted to continue to HSC. He said, no, go for nursing, because I'd even been admitted for that. But I persisted. So, especially for the girl, because when it comes to having a baby, first of all, the society doesn't treat well girls who are getting pregnant before they're married, they're in school. So my issue was to get you into school, for you to get a course, a profession of sorts, so that you are in charge. And every mother, even fathers, will agree with me that once the child has gone to school, has got the profession, what next? Now you want a family. You'd like to see your child with a family. And naturally, you'd like to be a grandmother. And that's what happened with me. I'm happy that you have given me a granddaughter.
I'm sure you didn't think it was going to be possible, but here we are.
I know once you got the baby, because of the challenges, you would say, this is your child. This is your child. But I guess at this moment, you've changed your mind.
She's still your child. Let's talk about your years in Parliament and dealing with motherhood and trying to make simpler the issues of the working mother. Maybe you can tell us about your experience having been in Parliament for 10 years and how you saw it affect other women and other mothers.
I joined Parliament when I was 50 years old. And most of the women then, because we had this provision of going to Parliament coming from every district, there had to be a woman. Most of the women were mature. So the issue of having many women in Parliament who were pregnant wasn't so obvious today. the age has dropped of
Drastically.
women parliamentarians. And even in my time, those who were of childbearing age, they were having babies. But until I left in 2011, there was no space for nursing mothers, where to take care of their children, where they can have an assistant. I don't know today. I hope and pray that the facility is there. To make work a lot easier for the mothers, for the legislators who are in the House.
What about the maternity leave?
I am proud to say that during my time, we were able to move the House to adopt 3 months as maternity leave, as opposed to the 1 month for the mother. And actually, if I remember well, we gave the fathers 4 days. And we asked them to make sure they stay with their wives for those 4 days, not to be all over the place.
Yeah, it's really tough because even with 3 months, it's hard to get back into work mode, especially for me after having my child, and I had to get back to work, being self-employed and all of that. It was at the time when there were viral videos of maids and nannies beating up children, black and blue, and somehow I had to find the strength to leave my own child with a maid and get back into there. There's a certain mental turmoil that you go through. How was it for you?
Well, it was no different, because maids are maids. Only in my time, it was possible to go to your auntie and ask for the girl who is not going to school to come and stay with you, or even the auntie herself to spend some time with you, especially in the early days. But as years have gone by, we have got universal primary education, universal secondary education, and generally the population would like their children to go to school. The babysitters would be young girls. I had some. I guess today it would be child abuse. But at that time, it was acceptable. I mean, the child, you have removed her from the village life, and maybe she would get pregnant so much earlier. But she stays with you. And the aunties could come and assist. But today, everybody is working. So I think this conversation is timely. What is happening in today's time? That time we had family support. I never ran short of cousins who were not going to school from the countryside. They would come and help.
It's very different. It's very different today. You have to, more often than not, trust a stranger to look after your child. So it's a little bit tougher. However, somehow we as mothers find a way to make it work. Now, at the beginning of this conversation, I spoke about the motherhood penalty and the fatherhood bonus. During research on the topic of working mothers and the challenges that they face, I ended up going down a rabbit hole. This is something that I've always known to be happening, but could never really put into words what the motherhood penalty is. And it's that basically it states that once a woman begins her journey into motherhood, her chances and her likelihood of earning drop. She can either get fired once she goes to give birth. When she comes back, she's not really considered for promotions, for projects, for outings, because after all, she has a child. She has to go look after that child. And then, whereas on the flip side, for the father, once he becomes a father, all of a sudden his earning potential increases because everybody is saying
employment,
yes,
getting employment in the first place.
exactly. And and even as an employer myself, you would find the guys coming in and with confidence, I now have a family to feed, whereas the women would be more timid.
Scared.
Exactly. So what experiences do you have in this regard to the motherhood penalty?
What I remember so well, one of my headmasters, when I was still in the classroom, would just be waiting for me, knowing it is break time. I've rushed home to breastfeed and come back. I would find him waiting outside the classroom that I was be teaching to say, where have you been? Just to check, am I 5 minutes late? Am I 10 minutes late? That was really traumatizing. When I was in the coffee marketing board, there would be trips to the countryside to go and check on primary coffee processors. And with those trips came the perquisites. First of all, you get your day allowance. And in the countryside, you are likely to come back with a bunch of bananas that will have bought cheaper, or maybe some onions and stuff like that. So, because I had babies, when to be choosing, the supervisor is choosing who is to go to the field, it comes to Oliver. Oh, no, that one, she has a baby. That one has children. That one has family issues. No. So you miss out. That bag of charcoal from the countryside meant so much. It meant I could save a little bit. So then comes courses, there would be short courses, for example, at Nakawa, management
For
training.
professional enhancement
Yes,
and growth.
to get a promotion, maybe to do some supervisory work, you're trained. The board was very good at that. They would send us to Nakawa for 2 weeks, tailor-made courses. But because I would have a baby, no, Oneha has children. No, Oneha just gave birth 3 weeks ago. No, she's nursing. So it wouldn't be only Oneha. Flavia, Grace, all these women would be missing out just because they are having mothers. They're having babies. And they will have left the babies at home. This is working time. So it wouldn't matter. But like that, you get discriminated. So you miss out on training, you miss out on conferences, on workshops, just because you're a mother.
Yes.
I hope things have changed for many people, especially you who are still childbearing age.
Unfortunately, it's more or less the same. The situation, the working environment is not really conducive for the working mother, having to take time off to, first of all, to be the mother, and then in the instance of single moms, to be the breadwinner. You have to make certain decisions, and yet your working environment is really tough, is not conducive. Maybe you can speak more on giving us some more examples of how it was for you with a tough environment while being a single mother.
First of all, there is the society that, societal mindset that doesn't give much attention, focus on motherhood. It's like, what's new?
Yeah.
People have been having children. I have babies, and my daughter just had a baby the other day. So they don't think about it. It's just, if a mother should fast, you lose your job. So being a single mother makes it even tougher, because you cannot say, today the father will stay at home and take care of the babies while I am at work. It's doubly taxing. You have to fill in for the father, for yourself. You don't want to lose promotion. You don't want to lose that job. So it's really challenging. I am happy that this conversation is taking place, because I think I'm hoping that in your endeavor to focus on motherhood, you will build networks, especially with the NGO world, because there are a lot of women out there who have a lot of information. They've done research, who can help, say, advocating for policies, for legislation that support motherhood.
Excellent. I guess you've put it best. The motherhood penalty is real.
It is real.
Even for some of us who are self-employed, I was trying to pitch an idea to a friend of mine, and it was at a time when I'd just given birth to my first child, and he then tells me, maybe you should first go finish breastfeeding.
With attitude,
Then we can carry on this conversation. And I was really offended, but I knew it did not come from a bad place, so I had to reconcile.
He just said it naturally, normally.
Yes, first go finish breastfeeding. And here I am talking about a serious business proposal. And so even today, it's still challenging for working mothers as well as the self-employed.
Well, in many places, not government, but in the private sector, you have to choose. You either have your babies or you keep the job. Can't be both ways.
Speak about your experience on this motherhood penalty, especially when you are ambassador overseas in the US. How did it manifest? Because we expect, since they are developed world, they must have better protections for mothers.
Well, the time I was there, I knew, even without being a mother, I learned that for every $100 that a man earns, the woman earns 72 for the very same job. So, starting from there, doesn't sound very... Actually, out there, you really have to decide. Are you keeping the job? Are you looking after your babies? I got the feel that was tougher, a lot tougher. Because here you can even carry your baby.
And you have support.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's been an absolute pleasure hosting you as my very first guest at this podcast, and I hope you'll have a recurring role. I've been blessed in that the COVID times found you in Uganda and you've been stuck here. So we as a family have had the pleasure of enjoying your nurturing and your grandmothering and all of that. And I hope we can host you for further conversations.
Well, before I conclude, I will encourage conversation with the men, because men are part of the motherhood.
Indeed.
They still occupy very important spaces that have a big say on what happens to both the men and the women. Otherwise, women will be talking to ourselves. We must look for the fathers and engage them in this conversation.
Famous last words. Thank you for coming. And remember, all the mothers out there, you are a great mother. Thank you.